to Ascot Park in Gardena, California for our first broadcast of Saturday Night Thunder for 1990. Hello everyone, I'm Larry Newbert. This of course is Steve Chassie. Now, our format in 1990 is going to be different and it's going to be very exciting. Of course, you will see the sprint cars and midgets in 1990. Tonight we're going to be focusing on the USAC Western States midgets, but tonight's broadcast is going to be much more. Just listen to this. Tonight, on our premiere of Saturday Night Thunder, we'll take you to Phoenix, Arizona, where the SCCA Trans Am Series competed as a support to the U.S. Grand Prix, won, of course, by Ayrton Senna. It was a wild and woolly affair, especially for the four-car team of Jack Roush. Robert Lapalainen has a wicked march to the front of the field. Bob Varsha, David Hobbs, and John Visigliano will call the action. That's coming up next. And later in our broadcast, we'll take you to the Miami Street Circuit for the IMSA Barber Saab Pro Series. Mike Joy, Bill Adam, and Rick DeBrule will be on hand to see who will replace Robbie Buell. Cars for heat race number 1 are forming up behind us on the racetrack, and the lineup is all set and they are ready to go. Here is the lineup in heat race number 1. On the inside of the first row is Gary Howard. Dirk Van Cott is on the outside. Row number 2, side by side, Chris Alexander and Frank Baldozier, all California drivers so far. The third row is Terry Farrar, awesome Terry Farrar, and from Indiana, Jeff Gordon. Row number 4, 7th and 8th starting positions are Robbie Flock, the defending champion out here, and Sid Carlson. And in the 5th row, scheduled to go side by side, were John Kofer and Bill Badger. But as you can see, Steve Stasa has moved up to the inside of Bill Badger. 10 cars to go. The first 4 cars will qualify for the main event. Now there is Robbie Flock, the defending champion out here, Steve.
Robbie's a real strong racer, and he even came back east last year, and he's looking for a home back there, and he's going to do a real good job tonight and try to win on television.
Robbie not only looking for a home back in the Midwest, but he hopes to do some more different kinds of racing. Now, we will be riding this evening in that black car with the blue helmeted driver. From Pittsboro, Indiana, that is Jeff Gordon. Well, now we are inside of Robbie Flock's car, so it is going to be Robbie Flock that we'll be riding with this evening. Robbie, as we told you, the defending champion of this series, and he is sure to give us some very exciting rides. He is not a wilting flower, Steve, on dirt.
Oh, not at all. He showed real strong last year, and as you can tell where he's starting, he's qualified well for this race this evening.
Flock and Jeff Gordon, whom we highlighted just a couple of seconds ago, figure on paper going in here to be the guys to beat in this race. They start side by side in row number 3. The field is coming around. Turn number 4. We're looking for our first green flag of the ESPN 1990 season. A little bit of a ragged start with the green flag. We're underway into turn number 1. It is Gary Howard.
Gary Howard's running real strong, and the racetrack's in great shape tonight. It's just real tacky, and they get in corners real hard.
That second dark blue car with the orange roll cage is car number 07. That's Dirk Van Cott. He's trying to hold on to second position. Here comes Robbie Flock. Flock has moved up to 3rd. Jeff Gordon running the high lane is in 4th.
The high lane sometimes works here, and it looks like he's got the number on the high line tonight because it's still wet enough and enough cushion up there. He's getting a good bite through the corner.
The goal is to make the main event. To do so, you not just qualify, you have to finish your preliminary heat race in the top 4. And right now, both Flock and Gordon appear to be moving in there. Now Gordon is 3rd and Flock is 2nd.
See, Gordon can't quite get up the corner. I mean, not Gordon, Flock can't quite get up the corner as strong as he'd like to. But in the corner and to the middle of the corner, he's real strong right now.
Driving very hard to the inside of Gary Howard. Gary Howard is the Californian who has immense experience in open-wheel race cars, TQs, full midgets, and sprint cars. And now Howard is being challenged by Jeff Gordon there. They're battling for 2nd. Inside with now the race leader, Robbie Flock. Boom! Bullseye! A big piece of mud. Plus the camera. We are riding with Robbie Flock.
This is a great view for people who've never driven a race car.
Spin yellow flag in turn number 1. Losing control in the light blue number 75 is Bill Badger. Bill started at the back of this field. No major incident, no wall contact. You can see the hay bales right behind him that are separating the race drivers from the wall, and Bill did not even make contact with them, Steve. This is success. The green flag is now out here in the front stretch. Gordon immediately goes to the high side of Gary Howard and gets the advantage coming off of turn number 4. He's now chasing Robbie Flock.
And he's running real good on the top. He's having a little trouble in the middle of the corners, but he gets off the corner so fast, Flock will have to make a mistake, I think, for him to catch him.
5 laps down, 3 to go. Is it going to Robbie Flock? Is it going to be Gordon? And Gordon gets a big bite going into turn number 1, but the car carries a little bit further coming out of turn number 2, Steve, than what he would wish.
Yeah, Robbie's really got a good setup. He's coming off the corner strong and hard, picking the front end up. Now here goes Gordon by on the outside, I think, this lap. He got a good first turn, off the second turn, hammered down, he's gone. Now we'll see what the in-cage cam looks like in a two-car battle.
Side by side with 6 laps down. We have had a spin in turn number 1. That is the number 7 car of Frank Baldozier. Incidentally, he is a blacksmith by trade, but he is well off the racetrack, and so the green flag stays out. Meanwhile, they were side by side. I mean, not even a dime was separating them in turn number 2. Gordon may be leading here, but the number 1 car, our defending champion of Robbie Flock, he is hardly giving up.
He's not giving up, you know, and Gordon is as young as he is, he's doing an excellent job on the cushion. He's got a lot of speed up there, but one little mistake and he's done.
Big slide job from Robbie Flock that time, but it wasn't enough. Now, you got to also realize that Robbie Flock, is the defending champion, has run many, many laps on this track. Jeff Gordon has run, this may well be his first race, and Flock gets very sideways in turn number 3. Robbie Flock is in jeopardy of losing his second place. Second is going to go to the number 6 car of Gary Howard. There is Slop trying to gather steam so that he can finish 4th, and he just barely pulls it off.
That was a great race. He lost a little momentum when he gave a big slide job in there and tried to get by Gordon, and then he backed up a little bit, had a few car lengths behind him, and he just overcooked it in the 3rd turn.
So Jeff Gordon turns in a terrific job, starting from the inside of row number 3 to win the first heat race, and he wins it against all the veterans of Ascot Park. You know, Steve, we talked
just with these things. They're the same cars, except they have more horsepower and they run a little faster than they used to.
Now, there is Jeff Gordon in the black number 4 on the right-hand side of your screen, and Robbie Flock on the inside. Now, this was the instant that Jeff Gordon of our last chance race, Darrell Hall.
Well, Darrell, of course, was the fast qualifier last night, but what happened in the heat race? You had a problem that forced you to go through the semi last chance.
Yes, sir, it did. We were running good up high there for the first few laps. We got into 3rd, and I thought I'd push it, and I got down a little low, got in the slick stuff, and put myself out and into the infield, and they didn't throw the yellow, so I sat there. And
it's getting very close. Starting on the pole in this race will be Frank Pedregon. He is a driver who does very well out here on the West Coast, and he could be very strong in this race. Here is the lineup. Frank Pedregon is on the pole. Sleepy Trip will start on the outside in the red number 3, the many times champion out here. Jeff Gordon, who looked very strong in his heat race, will start on the inside of the 2nd row in the black number 4. Hank Butcher starts on the outside in the brightly colored number 2. You'll see orange and blue on that car. Prime time, Robbie Flock, defending champion. Inside, row number 3, Darrell Hall. You just saw him win the last chance race. He starts 6th. Then comes Wally Pankratz, Terry Farrar, Ron Schumann, Jerry Coons Jr., P.J. Jones. He is starting in 11th position. Tommy White, the 84 champ, he is in 12th. Indiana's Andy Hillenberg is next. Then comes Dale Sexton, incidentally, also running in that Barber Saab race that we will go back to when this race is over. Then comes Bob Davison, the winner of the most recent main event. He's in a orange number 53. You are riding with Robbie Flock right there. That's Wally Pankratz in the yellow number 34. Johnny Parsons Jr., he starts at the outside of row 8. A.J. Johnson, James Clapp, Gary Howard, Dwayne Markham, and we have a green flag.
Slippy had a good spot to start, although he couldn't start the race because he was on the outside, but he had a good bite coming off the corner.
Lots of tradings of positions, and Frank Pedregon spins right in front of the field. Frank was on the outside of Ron Sleepy Trip, and everybody did a pretty good job of getting by. We end up with...
Well, since I'm on the pole and it's my job to start the race, I would start it slow, fast, something different. And he started off slow, and it didn't work.
Well, you almost have to question that start because Jeff Gordon is...
Whoa, that's Flippy upside down.
That's Tripp.
Lost the wheel and went over the fence into the cars that are spun and coming up the 2nd turn.
Sleepy Tripp takes a pretty solid header there in turn number 1. You can see the fuel spilling out.
He's waiting to get turned over. He's shaking his head. He wasn't too happy about that. And And when we get to see a replay of that, you can see that...
well, the frustration of the field began before the start of the race. Jeff brought them around at the speed that he wanted to, Steve, and Sleepy had at least a full car length advantage on him before the green flag went off. But that was not really Tripp's fault. Perhaps the green flag should not have been thrown.
I was just going to say that. And Jeff, and Jeff was... He was the man that was in the driver's seat. He was the one that was going to start the race.
Let's go over here.
That was a bad start, and that was a result of a bad start because Jeff tried to make up for it, and he went up and slipped across the racetrack and just ran into Sleepy.
Well, let's take a look at it. Let all those of you at home make your decision on the start of this race. Well, we're picking up already going into turn number 1. This is after the flip began.
Yes, he had just ran in too hard, trying to make up for the bad start, and he got into Sleepy and just turned him upside down.
1890, that's not the most pleasant way to start. And Sleepy Tripp, of course, is one of the most spectacular performers out here in the West Coast, and you always hate to see anybody get knocked out when it's one of the favorites that give you lots of thrill. It really hurts. But here's what visited historic Ascot Park for the first time. Now, regardless of the era, the closeness and competitiveness of midget dirt track racing is a spectacle. Racing's most famous drivers have competed here and at other tracks that have maintained the Ascot legacy in Southern California during this century. We were introduced to many new faces, and some of these even experienced emotions new to them. A few in midgets are more interested in leaving an immediate impression, though, rather than one for history. But whatever the angle of approach, everyone recognizes the significance of Ascot. It's a tough place, though just 1/4 mile in length. It is a 1/4 mile of minefields. And speaking of angles, camera angles at midget races are not close to the action, they are in it. Ron Sleepy Tripp in red pretty much sets the standard here in the West, but the new wave presents stiff challenges like career-ascending P.J. Jones. And last year's champ, primetime Robbie Flock, tangling here with A.J. Johnson. Now, one national star, the TV enticed Rich Vogler, won 2 of the first 3 TV races. And when Wisconsin Stan's Fox won, Flock was so unaccustomed to racing with him that Robbie didn't know Stan had beaten him. But overall, the California drivers, through efforts like the now-retired Rusty Rasmussen, won the most. He and Darrell Hall were surprised, but not completely unexpected winners. But the 2 kingpins of Western midgets last year were Tripp and Flock. Champ Flock, with eyes toward the east in Indianapolis, is hungry to win on TV for the first time. Tripp, meanwhile, won 3 of the 8 TV races, including the last 2. All the national stars combined victored only 3. Sleepy Tripp, with a Dale Earnhardt aggression, continues to be what success in midget racing is measured by.
Well, we can see the damage here to Sleepy Tripp's car. The right front has been knocked off. The rear has been caved in. There's plenty of mud on top of the roll cage, but the roll cage, the cockpit are intact, and that's why Ron is okay. Well, we're lining up to try one more time to get this feature underway. We're coming back live for the start.
We'll be joining the IMSA Barber.
Making fun of me, and last year we surprised them all. So Ben McDonald and the rest of you, go get him. And Calvin, you have yourself a great year this year. How about that?
The birds.
The Orioles are back. And we are also back at Ascot Park. You're riding with the champion of this division from a year ago. That's Robbie. Robbie is starting the race in second position. We will start this race single file, even though we have not completed a lap, because we've had 2 incidents, one yellow, one red, and that's the rule procedure in USAC. When you have that much trouble starting a race, you don't do a double file. Green flag, and Jeff Gordon and Robbie Flock come very close to one another, coming down the front stretch. They were the 2 that went at it for the victory in the heat race, and Robbie Flock looks like he may have the advantage on Jeff, but Jeff way up there on the cushion. He has got his foot flat to the floor all the way around. Flock taking the more conservative. It's the shorter route, but can he parlay it to the lead?
The only way he can get in the lead, I think, well, he's moved to the top now, but the upside down.
Darrell Hall right here in the front straightaway. Darrell immediately puts his hands to the side of his helmet, lifting up his visor. We've had another serious looking tip over. You can see significant damage to the front axle and both assemblies of the front wheels here in the front straightaway. Darrell being on a 1/4 mile. It may be slower than a 2.5 mile speedway, but it can be treacherous. There he is on the left-hand side of your screen.
Here's Darrell on the outside. He got up in the loose stuff, banged the right rear end, and just tipped the car over and started barrel rolling. barrel rolling and finally did an end over. It really came down hard when it stopped.
Went over 3 times side by side, and then the last one was an endo, and he did not get bumped by anybody else. He got high coming out of turn number 4 and bumped.
And I'll tell you, when you get up on those marbles, it's just like if you stepped on a hard floor on a pile of marbles.
TV lights there on the front stretch, but when you get stunned like that, it takes not only the wind, but your vision away from you, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It's